Hi Joe, hi Emily, I'm Courtney. I'm giving you a tutorial on how to make sourdough bread and how easy it is. The first step is probably the hardest, and this is what you need. So you have your starter and flour, salt, and water. I always use a scale for mine and grams and mixing bowl and a spoon, and that's it. I'll show you how I do it. So my scale is on. You probably can't see that, but I'm gonna measure how much starter I have, and it's easiest with my recipe to have 100 grams of starter, but you can change that pretty easily. So this is like 108 grams of starter. And I'm gonna pour that in my bowl. And it's fine if you have some left over in your measuring thing, because we'll just tear it. So with 100 grams of starter, I need 475 grams of flour, oops, I went way over there. So now I have like 484 grams of flour. That's pretty good. I like to get as accurate as possible, but it's really not that necessary. Tear it again. And I would need 10 grams of salt. There's 10 grams of salt. And then 325 grams of water, and I just use tap water for this recipe. So I measured out, I paused the video. I measured out 323 grams of water. I'm gonna add that to my bowl. I kind of scrape out as much as I can of everything else, so it all gets in there. And this is what it looks like, and I'm just gonna stir it up. I'm gonna pause you for a second. Okay, I just stirred it up, and they say stir it until it looks shaggy. I didn't know what that meant until I actually did it. And yeah, this does look shaggy because it's got like flaky pieces and stuff. But pretty much all the flour is mixed in. And then I'm going to get it all off my spoon. It's kind of sticky, kind of dry, kind of wet. It's kind of weird. And then I'm going to set this aside, cover it, set my timer for a half an hour, and then we'll move on to step 2. In the meantime, you've got your leftover starter here that you need to feed. So what I do is just a second. I usually feed it with a half a cup of flour or less, depending on how much you want. Sometimes I just use a third, but I've been making a lot of bread lately, so I'm usually not this messy. So a half a cup of flour, and then with this I use distilled water or spring water. It's just important that it doesn't have chlorine in it. So I use this for feeding my starter, and I put less than half a cup of flour or of water in there. And then I'm using the same spoon. I just stir it up really good. And this gets pretty thick too. And this is really just what's left over from what I dumped into the measuring pan. So if you just leave some in there, that's enough to feed for your next batch. So this is kind of messy too, but I don't know if you can see that or not. So you can see I put a rubber band at about the level that it's full to, and then when it rises, it'll double in size and then settle back down. And then I put a cover on this and set that aside till tomorrow. So that's the end of step 1. And we'll be back in a half an hour. Hi again. It's been 30 minutes and the dough has been sitting out, and it's time to do our second step, which is called stretch and fold. So this is what it looks like now. It looks pretty similar to how we left it, but it's stickier now because all the fluid is kind of like absorbed into the flour. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna show you this. I'll try and show you. So it's best, this is called a, I don't know, rubber scraper or something. This is like a very handy tool, and it's a little flexible, and it's made of silicone. So I get this wet and I get my hands wet so the dough doesn't stick to my hands as well. So I scrape it all into one, not all of it up, but you're gonna pull it up and fold it in half. I don't know if you can really see that. Sid, come here so you can hold this for me. Then you're gonna turn it 90 degrees and you're gonna stretch and fold again. Can you hold this up so they can see this? Hold it like that. Perfect. So you're gonna gather part of it up, you're gonna stretch it and fold it over like that. You're gonna turn 90 degrees. You're gonna kind of scrape it off the bottom, stretch it up. You'll be able to tell that it's getting a little tighter. So you'll stretch it, fold it, slap it down, and then do the last one. So you're gonna stretch it, fold it, set it down. So you can tell that it looks a lot different than when we started. Then you're gonna cover it, set it aside, and set your timer for another 30 minutes. Okay, this is after another 30 minutes. My hands are wet, my scraper's wet. We're gonna do another stretch and fold. So this time it's a lot more dough-like and a lot stickier. So you scrape it off the bottom, stretch it, fold it, turn 90 degrees, and then you scrape it off the bottom again, stretch it, fold it, turn it again. It gets a little tougher to stretch it, fold it, set it down, and then turn it again. So you'll feel it getting tougher. That's the last one. Kind of gather it in. That's it. And then set your timer for another 30 minutes. This is the last stretch and fold. It's starting to look a lot more like dough, and it's also getting really tacky. So you scoop it up. Might be getting tougher now. Stretch it, fold it over. If you watch some YouTube videos, a lot of people have a lot of different ways of doing this. This is just the way that I find the easiest, but there's something called a coil and fold, which I haven't looked at. But you can see it's already getting a lot thicker, harder to stretch. And by the end, it's like, you have to like really pull it apart. And that's it. and then it sits overnight. Right now it's about 9:16 at night, and then I'll see what it looks like in the morning. Good morning. It's about 6:45 in the morning, and it's time for the next step, which is probably the most artistic step, so it might be a little challenging. Overnight, the bread or the dough pretty much doubled in size, and you can see it's like kind of jiggly and kind of fluid like. You can see there's bubbles that pop up and stuff. It's a little bit sticky, so what I'm gonna do is I think this step is called shaping, and this step takes some practice, and there's a ton of different ways to do it. I'll just show you the way that I do it, and you can YouTube different ways to do it if this doesn't work. I start out with dry hands, but if it gets sticky, then I get my hands wet. So I scrape it all out on a clean counter. I don't put any flour down, but I think you can put flour down. And then, oh yeah, this is pretty sticky. I turn it into like a triangle shape. See this? And I fold this side over. I fold this side over. I fold this side. And then I'm gonna roll it up kind of like a burrito. And it gets all the air out. This is hard for you to see, sorry. I roll it up into a tight ball. And what that also does is it creates tension on the outer surface, which is going to help with expanding in the oven. So this is awfully sticky. It's probably because it's so hot and humid out, and I think my bread is a little overproofed because it's so warm out. I'm gonna pause it. I have a smaller bowl here and just an old napkin. People have like really fancy things to put their dough in at this stage, but this is all I've ever used. So I'm going to gather my dough up the best I can, create as much tension on the top as I can. And this is definitely very sticky dough, so it's definitely overproofed. And I'm going to put it in the towel, and then I kind of wrap it up nice and tight. I know it's hard for you to see. So it's in a nice, neat little package, and then I put it in the fridge for a couple of hours, and it's kind of like dries it out and helps it form into a ball, and then we'll take the next step. So this what time is it? It's about 3:30, so the dough has been in the fridge since about 6:30 this morning, or maybe 7. So it's a little bit dry, but unwrap it and take it out. And this is like a little silicone sling. You can also use parchment paper. I like this just because I hate parchment paper. And I put it on here, and it's nice and cold, so it's a little bit hard. And I personally just make a slice down the middle, sometimes 2 slices, and then I have had a cast iron Dutch oven in the oven at 450 degrees, and I let it preheat in here. So it's extremely hot. And then I put I sling in there like that. Sometimes I put ice cubes in there, but I'm not. And then I put the top back on and put it in there for 20 minutes. Okay, it's been 20 minutes, so now I'm just gonna take the top off. And that's how it looks so far. And then leave it in for another 15 minutes and it'll brown up nice. And this is the final product. I just took it out. And you can see, even with an overproofed kind of sloppy dough that came out this morning, it still turned out really good and it'll taste great. So you can experiment with it and practice with it, and even if you think you ruined it, it's still worth a try to bake, and sometimes they taste even better. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and if you need more starter, I'd be happy to give it to you, and have fun with it. Good luck.